Hello and welcome along to Canterbury Kayaking's Coast to Coast Kayak Lines Tour for 2021. I'm Sam Milne and I'll be your host today, and we're going to be taking a look at some river lines from the weekend prior to this year's race. And I think what's on everyone's mind is the river level. So a lot of the footage that I'm about to show you is with the river at 55 cumecs, and many of you will know that there is some rain on the way just prior to Coast 2021. So what we're going to do is switch over to my screen here, and we're going to take a look at the forecast and what kind of my best guess is for this race weekend. Okay, so here we go. First thing we're going to take a look at is how the river is sitting at the moment. So if we look at the OTARAMA gauge, which measures it in cumecs, we can see here that we are at 51 cubic meters per second at the moment. So when we were recording this lines video just a couple of days ago, the river was sitting at 55 cumecs, which is getting pretty low, and we're expecting some rain, and I think that'll bring the river up a little bit for the weekend to come. So if we have a look upstream to the highest gauge on the Waimak, we're going to be checking the Waimakariri-esque gauge, and we can see that that's still sitting pretty level, hasn't risen just yet. If we take a look at Met Services website here, we're going to be going up to mountains and parks, checking the Arthur's Pass forecast, and we're looking for this precipitation amount. So if we look at today, Tuesday the 9th of Feb, we're expecting all of this rain to fall in the headwaters of the Waimakariri River. So a bit of quick maths, and you're looking at over 100 millimeters of rain, which is pretty significant. It's not going to be an enormous flood, but we're going to see that river rise for sure. Don't ask me to predict what it's going to get to, but I would say expect 100 cumecs or so, but it's not going to be crazy high, and I do think it's going to be good kayaking this weekend at Coast to Coast. If we go back to our ECAN website, we look at the river flow here. If someone wants to geek out on this, you can look back and see some of the past events that have happened. If you look at how much rainfall it took to create these levels here, like this one on the 19th of January, up at 500 cumecs, I don't think it's going to go that big, but it is coming up for sure. We can take a look at what's happening in the rainfall gauges at the moment. So if we go to this Carrington rainfall gauge, you can see that we've already got 30.5 millimeters of rain at the top of the Waimakariri River right now, and Met Service was predicting around that 100 millimeter range. So when we watch these lines that I'm about to show you, I think we need to imagine a little bit more water in the river, but most of those lines are going to remain the same. I'll point out where they might differ with more water. Okay, here we go. We are at the top of the Coast to Coast river section. Before we get into this, I just want to thank everyone that supported us this season, everyone that came along to a kayak course, learned to paddle with us this summer. If you did a guided trip, if you bought something from the website, thank you so much. It allows me and my team to basically live the dream, doing what we love for a living out here on the Waimak. So thank you so much for all your support out there. So here we are at Rock Garden number 1. So Rock Garden number 1 has been a little bit tricky to get into without running aground. So many people get beached on the lead-in, but like I said earlier, we are expecting more rain, and that river level will come up a little bit, so it'll be a bit easier to get into. Go right has been the line to get around the rocks, and so if you're looking for the easiest path through the first rock garden, I just say go right and you'll be able to avoid most of those rocks. You can see there are a few at the bottom here to be aware of. With a little bit more water, those are going to get covered up, and you just cruise basically anywhere you want to go. Rock garden number 2 is a go left to avoid A big rock on the outside of the bend here. You can just see that white water to my right there. I think with a bit more water, they're going to become some holes that you'll be able to crash through if you've got good balance. But I'd just say go left of those for an easier ride. As you come up against this beautiful big wall on the left, you're going to want to make your way left. This is a bit of a scrape right here, but again, more water is going to make that better. Just telling my crew behind me to move to the right for the next couple of rocks coming up. And I would remember that even at more water, you probably don't want to head into the rocks, which are directly in front of my kayak now. And you'll see that as we make our line in between the rocks. Just more of a bold move. You can just go all the way right and avoid all this boily water, but opted for the weave in between line on that day. Okay, rock garden number 3 is probably the most technical of the rock gardens before Gooseberry checkpoint. We are looking for a line down the right hand side. You can see I'm pretty far right on the entry there, and then I'm really just hugging that right bank to avoid a whole heap of rocks to my left now. I think there could be a bunch of carnage in there if people are ending up in the center there. But again, with more water, this is probably going to get better. These waves in the bottom will get bigger, but it's going to make staying away from the rocks a lot easier. After you come past the Gooseberry checkpoint, the 15-kilometer mark, you're going to get to rock garden number 4. It's immediately after Gooseberry there. You're going to go through a timing mat or a timing buoy, and then you're going to be into this one, which we've been staying right on. So if you enter in the left braid like we did here, you're going to have to move across this braid coming in from your right and get up against that right bank. You're essentially looking for a sneak line down here for a swim-free journey. If you want a bit more speed, then there is absolutely a line down the middle, but it's slightly higher risk because there are some bigger boulders to my left now that you'll need to avoid in order to achieve that good line down the center. You can't stay right forever. At this moment, we're actually cutting back to the center of the rapid to avoid big boulder on my right now. So if you are going to go for that right sneak line, you might need to move back to the center at the end there, so just be prepared for that. Once the POULTER River comes in and joins the Waimakere on your left, you're going to be presented with our first bluff corner of the racecourse this year. So the best line at the moment has been an outside line around that boilie eddy. Esk Pool, top of the gorge. This one has been getting more and more technical as the river's been dropping lower and lower. I've found the better line is to drop in on the far left and just follow this little wave train all the way around the outside. You can see that there are some channels coming in on the right, but they're a bit of a scrape at the moment. With more water, those are going to clean up, and you're going to be able to basically just drop in on that right side where I am now. You'll be able to scrape over those shallows to the right there and basically avoid all of this technicality that we're having to deal with in this video. So again, if we get those higher river levels, I just remember to drop in on the right for that one. Then we've got Esk Bend. This one here, we're basically staying left of the waves as we drop into it. It'll kind of feel like the river's pulling you into those waves constantly, but even though the waves aren't massive right now, I would definitely recommend staying as far left as you can. There's the signal there. Perfect. So being on the left for the second half of the rapid is going to give you the control and the aim you need to basically weave in between a couple of big submerged boulders. So after this channel joins you on the left, you're going to miss the first one to the right there and miss the next one to the left. And if you achieve that line, you are doing pretty well and you're going to be fine through the rest of it. Nice one. there are 3 rocks just to the left there, and you want to make sure that you're away from those. That'd be pretty awkward to try and paddle in between, and pretty terrible to drift sideways on. I'm going to just back paddle up this rapid and show you one other way that we can do this. And if the river level is much higher, those waves that are to my right there, they're going to get huge. So I would suggest this instead if that river level comes a lot higher. Now, what I'm about to show you may create a time penalty. It's probably a fraction faster going around the outside, but if you're after that swim-free ride, which I would recommend to all first-timers, look for that triangle rock in the distance that my kayak is pointing at right now. You're going to stay high up on this left side. With more water, this is going to be way more achievable. You can see that it's pretty shallow here today at 55 cumecs, but a little more and you'll sail through this stuff, and you're going to drop into a little chute. And you can just see that chute now. As we drop down this chute, I want to try and keep my nose just left a little bit. And that's going to send me in a good position so I can miss that wave hole to my right there. And if you make that move, you're pretty safe to carry on through. Stick into that left side to avoid those holes to the right. There are those 3 rocks again. Make sure we're moving to the center of the flow to avoid those. So there you go. Salmon Rapid. This one has been pretty challenging lately as that flow has dropped lower and lower. The line is always to go down the right side. When the river's this low, we scoot down the eddy line here with our right edge raised a little bit. And just keep the power on, keep pushing the boat down that eddy line. With more water, you can go further right and avoid the waves a lot easier. Drop rock, pretty mellow line around the left side. I'd recommend that for just about everyone. Beautiful through here. Hamilton Rapid, stay left. Probably most of you know that already, but just confirming that the left line is the easier line. The waves are smaller on this left side, so it's gonna be an easier time for you. You're not gonna get bounced quite as much as if you were in the middle. Also a good chance just to remind everyone that grade 2 courses are starting up real soon after Coast to Coast 2021. Our first one is happening at the end of February, so if you've got a mate that is wanting to do Coast to Coast 2022, make sure they sign up, ideally with us, for a grade 2 course as soon as possible, so they can be really good at kayaking by the time they get to the race. BLUFF. If you've taken the right hand channel, when those 2 channels join back together, you're going to be looking to stay to the right of the waves. If you get pulled into those waves, it's all good, just go with it. It's just going to be a little bit bouncier and a little bit more exciting. But if you want that easier ride, I would make the effort to get right. Difficult bend. This one, real tricky at low flow, just to the right of that big boil and just to the left of the waves. At higher flow, if you're up around 100 cumecs, you can just go as far left as you can. It's going to make that entrance way easier. You'll be able to almost scoot down that shallow water on the left. Back up there. The boat that I'm paddling today is the Flow Aspire, by the way, in the heavy duty layup. They created that layup for me so I could bash it around the river day after day, and it's been holding up awesome. Haven't needed any repairs on it. This is Carnage Corner. It's cleaned up a lot this year, so a stay right line will see you down the bottom without a swim pretty easily. So just stay right on Carnage Corner. My paddle there is the Gara Odin-S. If you're interested in that, check out Canterbury Kayaking's website. You can order one. Horseshoe Bend. This was pretty exciting for a lot of folk at the ResDex Classic race. You can see here that since the rain event after that race, all these chutes have opened up on the right side, so you can just take a sneak line down the right. We've tested the speed, and we think that going down the sneak line is probably just as fast as going for that wall. And you know, you're way faster if you don't swim. So go for the faster, safer line. I think that'd be very wise. But if you back paddle with me all the way to the top, if you want to get your value for money out of the Waimakere River, then you can opt to go for the hero line. Impress your fellow racers by dropping into the left side and encourage them to follow you. I actually don't. But I'm going to show you, if for those that are keen to run this, if the coast to coast safety crew leave it open, that is, then here's my version of how to paddle this line efficiently without putting yourself at too much risk. So really just aiming just to the right of that buffer and just remaining brave as I push my nose towards that wall. It's super boily on the right. The buffer wave is pretty big, and I think the video doesn't do it justice. So if you saw that and you think that looks easy, I would say you're kind of missing some of the river features there. So you probably want to go for the alternative line. This is Deer Print Cove, suggesting an inside line. So if you want to reverse the video and check out how I did that again, I'd suggest it. I've actually been getting a bunch of swimmers here in my guiding time over the last couple of weeks, just by not lifting that right edge as they come into the eddy. So definitely worth watching a couple of times. If you're a novice, rewind this video and check out how I made that inside line look so smooth. Once you've come around the first bluff moving left, it's important to get all the way to the right so that you don't drop into the next bluff sideways. There's a pretty active buffer wave on that left wall, so I've been encouraging everyone just to get away from that, play it safe, cruise around the inside, lifting that left edge. There's actually a swimmer just behind us, checking they're all good, which they were, so always good to stop and make sure. Luckily they were fine, but they'd tried to take the outside line and hit the wall. You can see my clients there over on the far right at OTARAMA Rock, taking the sneak or the portage on the far right. This is the line if you're wanting to run the rapid. I'd give it a grade 2+ easily. Again, probably making that look easier than it is. Those that were at the Rasdex Classic race and gave it a shot will know that rapid is hard. Making our way to the end of the paddle now. Make sure you check out Canterbury Kayaking's online store for any gear that you might need for next season. And here we are at Woodstock. We've got 15 kilometres to go. This is where I'll leave you to find your own way through the last braids. Don't switch off too much. There's always a few tree hazards to be aware of down here, and that last bluff corner right at the end too. So hey, if you found this video helpful, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to Canterbury Kayaking on all the social media platforms. Tell your mates about us. That would be much appreciated. Congratulations to everyone that's made it this far, and good luck during Coast to Coast 2021.